Following breaking news out of Trotwood tonight, we want to give you a live look right now. This is on Little Richmond Road near Wolf Creek Pike. That road is shut down at this hour. We do know a large police presence is in the area. Now, dispatchers told us they're looking for someone out of an earlier incident from today. This has been going on now for several hours. We are working to learn more. As soon as we do, of course, we'll update you on air and online.
Tonight, the quest by some community members for a public hospital on the west side of Dayton continued at Dayton's City Commission meeting. Multiple presentations made from what the cost would be to why some believe it is needed.
Jenna Lee Borick live now from City Hall tonight. So, Jenna Lee, what exactly is being asked of the city commissioners?
Yeah, Adam and Elise, community members asked the commission to put a tax levy on November's ballot so voters could decide whether or not they wanted tax money to go toward building a new public hospital. Commissioners voted not to do so. Bishop Richard Cox explains why he believes a public hospital is needed instead of a privately funded one.
A private nonprofit hospital doesn't have to take your insurance. A public hospital will take you whether you got insurance or not.
6 years ago, Premier Health's Good Samaritan Hospital on the west side of Dayton closed. Before it was sold to Premier, it had been a public hospital. On Wednesday, community members asked the Dayton Commission to put an initiative on the ballot for a levy that would help fund a new public hospital because a petition didn't have enough valid signatures to make it without the commission's vote.
We're here to encourage those commissioners and the mayor to take a realistic look at the people who are underinsured, the people who are indigent, the people who are poor, the people who need health care.
The Montgomery County Board of Elections presentation showed the petition fell short of 376 signatures. The commission voted not to add the initiative to November's ballot. Julie Sullivan from the Dayton Development Coalition says it would have a negative impact.
Cost of health care is a factor that companies consider in their site selection process. An increase in these costs would have a negative impact on our ability to continue to grow the region's economy through company expansions and attraction of new investment.
More than one person pointed out that neighborhoods that are predominantly white have healthcare facilities, while neighborhoods that are predominantly black do not. Cox says this would serve everyone in Dayton.
Don't forget, this is for all of the residents of Dayton. Not just black people, white people, all of the Dayton area residents will have access to this hospital.
The initiative will not be on November's ballot, so if it's ever going to be in voters' hands, it will not be until another election. Back to you.
Well, we now know tonight that the man you see here behind me is behind bars after police say he was trespassing at Springboro High School. Eli Hudkins, a former student, showed up despite being issued a letter of no trespassing by the district because of erratic phone calls and behavior. The school says Hudkins wanted to speak with a staff member. Now, this prompted an immediate lockdown and the district called 911. The school says Hudkins went to another building, left the building, then drove to another one of the district's buildings. That's where Springboro police finally arrested him. In a statement, the district says, in part, quote, "The procedures that our district has in place allowed us to handle this situation with minimal disruption to the students and staff on campus. Our district is committed to the safety and education of all our students."
The man police say is responsible in April's quadruple deadly crash near Dayton International Airport back in Montgomery County tonight. 26-year-old Clayton Hughes was extradited to Ohio yesterday and now sits in the Montgomery County Jail. Troopers say back in April, Hughes rear-ended a car on I-70, then took off, only to hit a van a few minutes later at the intersection of Terminal Road and Boeing Drive, killing all 4 passengers inside the van. Troopers say speed and alcohol were major factors in that crash. The wife of one of the 4 victims now suing Hughes for $10 million in a wrongful death lawsuit. A Butler County man behind bars accused of raping a child. Butler County Sheriff Richard Jones says 32-year-old Kyle Plummer was arrested Monday on 2 counts of rape. Now, the sheriff says he got a tip from a Tennessee Department of Children's Services that Plummer may have been sexually assaulting a girl under 10. Investigators believe the abuse took place in both Butler County and Tennessee. Court documents say Plummer bribed her with a nicotine vape pen to not tell anyone.
It makes the hair on the back of my neck stand up. It's disgusting. And as you can tell, I'm very angry about it.
Now, Sheriff Jones says investigators are concerned there could be more victims here. Plummer could face charges in Tennessee, too. He's currently being held in the Butler County Jail on a $500,000 bond.
We now know tonight the man being held responsible for the accidental death of a corrections officer during a training exercise has now been indicted. Lisa Rontala tried to get answers as the facts of the case remain limited.
Do you think you should go to jail?
No comment.
Now on leave from the Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Corrections, Commander David Pearson showed up for his arraignment of negligent homicide of ODRC Lieutenant Rodney Osborne in this Pigway
Now the township tells me it could be 2 to 3 months before the second half of the plan gets approved, and we'll be sure to keep you updated on air and online at Dayton247now.com. Back to you.
Voters across the nation receiving their first impression of Vice President Harris's running mate, Tim Walz. A look into his 20-year record in politics up next.
Plus, I'm tracking a taste of fall for this weekend. I'll let you know when we'll finally feel more comfortable. That's coming up. Here's a live look from our Eco Plumber Skycam. You're watching Dayton 24/7 now.
The Sports Desk is
Vice President Kamala Harris and her new running mate, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, they're on a swing state blitz across the country this week. Walz has been in Minnesota politics for almost 20 years now, but for many voters outside of that state, this is their first real impression of him. Atra El-Nashar has a look at his record and what it means for both Democrats and Republicans.
Democrats' last-minute presidential ticket shakeup ending with Governor Tim Walz joining the race.
I couldn't be prouder to be on this ticket.
Republicans now in a race to define him as too progressive.
He's a shocking pick, and I'm thrilled. I could not be more thrilled.
They're quick to call out Walz's handling of the 2020 riots in Minneapolis following the murder of George Floyd, saying he was too late to call in the National Guard.
Tim Walz is a crazy radical, of course. He allowed rioters to burn down Minneapolis.
Walz's spokesperson at the time said they did not want to act before they had a clear strategy for handling the violence. The Trump-Vance campaign also say he's too weak on immigration. And when it comes to Walz's military record, 24 years in the Army National Guard.
He was the highest-ranking enlisted man to ever serve in the United States Congress.
Critics are downplaying his service, reviving years-old criticism about his decision to leave the Guard in 2005 to run for Congress at 41 years old. It was shortly before his battalion was deployed to Iraq.
He dropped out of the Army and allowed his unit to go without him.
Meanwhile, it's hard to find a Democrat who isn't thrilled about Walz joining the ticket. From progressive Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez,
Governor Walz is a uniter,
to moderate former Democratic Senator Joe Manchin, who says Walz is the real deal. The party's working to brush off attacks that Walz is too far left, pointing out he's a gun owner, once had an A rating from the NRA, and supported the Keystone Pipeline.
We're going to make inroads into what were the red areas of the swing states, and Tim Walz will do that.
While also leaning into his progressive record on healthcare, LGBTQ rights, and public education. What Walz brings to the ticket in the immediate term is a new kind of blunt, straightforward messaging style and a fundraising boost. The Harris-Walz campaign reports it brought in $36 million in the 24 hours since the running mate announcement. In Washington, I'm Atra El-Nashar.
Former President Donald Trump says he will debate Vice President Kamala Harris, but only under new conditions. Trump told Fox it'll happen in the near future.
I think it's important for the country that we debate. Now, where it is, I'm all for Fox. I'd like to see it on Fox. I think Fox would do a really good job, but two people have to agree.
Before President Biden dropped out of the race, Trump had agreed to debate on September 10th, hosted by ABC News. But in recent social media posts, Trump terminated those plans. Instead, he said he would be open to attend a debate in Pennsylvania on September 4th, hosted by Fox News. Harris has since criticized Trump for backing out of the agreed-upon ABC News debate.
The Biden administration has now deployed more than 700 FEMA staff members and federal partners to the southeast as states there feel the impact of Tropical Storm Debbie. That includes Florida, Georgia, the Carolinas. Search and rescue teams, including Ohio Task Force 1, also ready to help as needed. The White House says FEMA has delivered more than 1 million meals, nearly 1.5 million liters of water to Florida, with additional supplies on the way.
And taking a look at Debbie right now, moving onshore, making that second landfall here shortly. You can see right here in infrared imagery, still packing a punch right now. Max sustained winds at the previous update was 60 miles per hour, and that continues to track its way off to the north. So it can making its way on land, and we're going to continue to see it weaken, but we'll be on the western side of this storm. So we'll see some clouds, maybe a shower or two, but as far as significant impacts here in the Miami Valley, not going to see much of that. Our next cold front, though, off to our northwest, that's what's going to bring us our cool down for the weekend. So again, some clouds across the area tomorrow due to Debbie just off to the east of us. Can't completely rule out a shower, but the majority of us will stay dry. Best chance for a shower will be off to our east, and then heading into our Friday, starting to feel better, lower humidity sliding in, and the weekend's looking great. So I'll talk about that coming up.
New tonight, all-American flags flown at federal locations are going to be made here in the U.S. only. Senator Sherrod Brown was in town today to discuss the legislation being passed into law. Lydia Bice spoke with him and shares the long journey to get this approved.
Senator Brown told me today that 4 years ago, he found out that only 50% of American flags given to veterans or flown at federal buildings are actually made in America, and he wanted to immediately change that.
Republican Senator from Maine and I introduced our bill. It shouldn't have taken this long, but special interests have too much power in the Senate, And too many companies have tried to outsource jobs, because they can save money with cheap labor. And I think this was an example.
But after a few years of fighting, the PACT Act hit President Biden's desk. And today, I asked some visitors to the Air Force Museum if they knew of the PACT Act and that it's not just about the flags flying over post offices or Air Force bases. It's also about the ones draped over our veterans' coffins.
My father was a coal miner. He was also a veteran in the Navy. And the first thing I thought about when I read that is I went into my bedroom and I looked at that flag that they had over his coffin before we buried him, and I thought about it.
Now that President Biden signed this legislation into law, the next call to action from organizations like the Dayton Miami Valley AFL-CIO is to have every single American flag made here in the U.S. Back to you.
All right, let's give you a live look from our Eco Plumber Skycam over downtown Dayton tonight. Much more pleasant as you go outside in the evening. The humidity is lessened considerably.
Yeah, a lot more comfortable out here. Now tomorrow we have a little spike in our humidity, but I'm happy to say, at least in these next 7 days, it's the hottest and most humid day that
And it's going to go back down.
And it's going to go back down.
Okay.
It's looking pretty good. But for tomorrow, we will see a quick spike in our humidity. It's going to be definitely a sticky one for our Thursday. We'll be looking at heat indices climbing into the 90s, so definitely a summer-like day. But by this weekend, it's feeling comfortable. We'll start to feel lower humidity make an arrival. Very comfortable conditions expected by this upcoming weekend. And as far as temperatures go, it's also looking pretty nice. So we got upper 80s tomorrow, so that's the hottest day, but nice, comfortable highs back in the upper 70s as we head into the weekend with that low humidity sticking around as well.
Congressman Mike Turner and Springfield officials looking for ways to manage the city's surge in migrants, the steps they're now taking to address the growing health and financial challenges. You're watching Dayton 24/7 now.
Take Dayton 24/7 Now News with
Well, the 4th episode of our Missing Nikki McCown podcast is out now. The 5th one will be dropping in just a matter of days on Monday. You can scan that QR code on your screen to download or to search for Missing Nikki McCown in Apple, Spotify, or whatever podcast platform you use. Make sure you subscribe to the series so you always know when a new episode drops.
Congressman Mike Turner alongside Springfield city officials looking for ways to address the growing Haitian migrant population in the area. Now, Turner emphasized the importance of creating a safe public health environment for the community amid the influx. An estimated 10,000 Haitian immigrants have moved into the Springfield area, and Turner says it's leading to financial and health challenges for the city, and they're looking for solutions for both existing and new residents.
We have already been to agencies in Washington with bringing the mayor in to talk about existing grant programs. They've acknowledged that there are no existing sources. So we are now looking together as a team, where can we find areas where they can get aid and assistance? And the governor is doing the same on the state level.
Now, Turner says federal funding for these kinds of situations is scarce, but he will continue to look for grants to continue in the next steps.
It's been 2 weeks since the Cincinnati Bengals began training camp 2024, but the countdown is changing from days to hours until the first preseason game this weekend. Plus, could the Reds win a 3rd straight in Miami? You're watching Dayton 24/7 now.
My name is Zach Keys. I was a staff.
The Dayton 24/7 Now News app, brought to you by the Jeff Schmidt Auto Group.
Well, we are partnering with McDonald's and Cranston Classrooms all week long for the Back to School Basics Supply Drive. You can help provide school supplies for local students as they go back to class. Just bring your donation of new supplies to any area McDonald's to help kids right here in the Miami Valley all week long.
Good evening, I'm Matt Digby. This is the Bob's Discount Furniture Sports Desk. Only a handful of days left until the Cincinnati Bengals' first preseason game of 2024, and they'll be home on Saturday night when they face the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at Paycor Stadium. Now, it's been several weeks since training camp began. Sometimes players get excited to finally run plays against those who aren't their teammates. That's not uncommon. What was uncommon today in Cincinnati, several scuffles between the offensive and defensive units beyond when they were just running plays. Ted Carrot saying afterward that thankfully no one was hurt, and the fact that the first preseason game is this weekend is perfect timing. ABC 22 is your home for Saturday night's game between the Bengals and the Buccaneers. It hasn't been determined how many first teamers will see action that night or how much action, but it is something